What's up, boys and girls? This is Spit Logic, and today I'm going to do somewhat of a demonstration. I'm going to take a single sample and I'm going to do a couple of things with it. I'm going to use that sample, I'm going to make a hip hop beat with it, and then I'm going to use that same sample and I'm going to create an ambient type of soundscape using that same exact sample. So let's go ahead and get into it. So for the purposes of this video, this is going to be more demonstrative than it is instructional. All the basic functions, I'm going to really gloss over that, but really what I'm going to dive into is my mind state, my mind frame, and how my approach is when developing certain types of music. So first thing we're going to do, I'm going to grab a sample off my SD card. And one thing that I have noticed, so this SD card that I have right now, this is 128 gigabytes, much larger than typically. And I've noticed that it does take longer the first time that you go into this menu for those options to come up when you hit it. So I'm going to push enter and you'll just see in real time, it takes it a while to read that larger SD card. So we'll go into sample and just so you're tracking bank B and G. This is my sandbox project. So we're going to be using just bank B and bank G for this project. I think what I'm going to go with is the Jazz Keys pack. And I don't know about you guys, but when I first got my SP4 4 Mark II, I just started downloading a lot of sample packs, just a lot of files online, and I can't even keep track of how many different packs that I got or where I got all of them from. Most of them you could see it would have like the name somewhere in the description of the folder, but some of these I don't know where I got it from. This one in particular, this Jazz Keys pack, this is one of the first ones I bought, and actually, as we go down it, this sample right here, this is the first sample that I used to make my first beat on the SP4 4 Mark II. But anyway, that's neither here or there. We'll grab, let's go ahead and grab number 5. So I'll put that in bank 1, pad 1 on bank B. And this is going to be the sample that we're going to use to make our hip hop beat. So now that we have the sample in here, we're just going to go ahead and go straight into chop mode for it. So shift, start in, and I'm just going to manually chop it. So now that we have everything properly marked, we're going to go ahead and assign this to certain pads. We're going to go into bank G and we'll just do 1 through 8, and we'll put it in there for a reason. And this is what I'm going to do, which is going to be just a little bit different. I'm going to go back into chop mode. So grab that sample again. I'm going to go back into chop mode, and you'll see that the marks are still there even after you've already transported them into your other bank. So I'm going to hit assign to pad again, and I'm going to put these in the other 8 banks to complete the full 16 banks. Now I'm sure there's probably a way to do it. I just have not discovered that way yet. But what I want to do with these last 8 banks, even though they're similar to the top, I want to put all of them in reverse. So I'm going to reverse all of these. And this is where that preciseness when you make your chops comes in, because reversing it actually starts where it ends. So where you cut off your audio, you want to make sure that it's very concise in case you use that reverse feature. So we'll see if it does work out. I think it will work out, but we'll see if it does. So what I'll do here, I'll do what I do with all of my samples. I'm going to just bring the pitch down. Let's go with -4. I think that's a good solid number. Okay, so I have my samples together. I'm going to go ahead and just put them into a quick pattern. So we'll just record this 88. I'll go with 8 bars, and we'll go with a somewhat rehearsed thing. Here we go. Okay, let's go straight to the drums from here. I messed up some parts in there. I just had to fill in the blanks. Okay, so I got the beat right here, and this is great. This is fine. This is a good beat right here. So I made one pattern with it. What I want to do now is go from this basic hip hop drum that I've made and transfer over to more of an ambient soundscape that I'll create. So one thing that I've realized, especially when dealing with the Mark II, it's better to deal with audio as opposed to dealing with patterns when you're trying to develop or create those soundscapes. So I'm going to use this pattern, but I'm going to use this pattern in the form of audio. So what I'm going to do right here, I'm going to hit copy, right? And it's going to be this particular pad, this pattern that we've created. And in order to convert it from a pattern to audio, I'm going to hit this pattern select button, and it'll bring me into the realm of the audio pads. You see right now, it was at pattern to pattern, but now it's going to go into a sample. So we're in bank B, so I'm just going to go into pad 2 on bank B, and then hit remain to grab the samples that you want to send across. I'm not going to send any of the drums. I'm going to focus purely on the sample. So I'm only gonna use those parts, and I'm gonna hit copy, and it's gonna export it to an audio file. So when it comes to dealing with it with ambient and conducting an ambient type of beat, I do enjoy working with the audio files, and this is the reason why. So I'm gonna take my audio first, and this is the 8 bars, and what I want to do, I do want to loop it. So I want it to go and loop continuously, and that's how I create, you know, those different soundscapes. It's the same loop going over and over again. But what's interesting here, so number one, a few things. I'll take the gate off, and instead of looping it, I'm going to ping pong it. And the reason why I'm going to ping pong it, and that's why with the original audio samples, why I had some that went in reverse as opposed to going forward, because I want to kind of mix and match forward and reverse sounds, and then ping pong those same sounds are reversed going forward. So hitting shift and hitting loop. So I'll just do it as an example, and let me shorten it just so you can see. Playing it now with the gate off, it just plays right there to the end. Let me zoom in so you can get a good idea of what's going on here. That'll just loop it to the end, right? It goes to the end. When I hit loop, it'll just start back where that L is. That's where the loop is. So it'll just loop to the beginning. Now, if I hold shift and hit loop, it's going to ping pong it. You see how the loop is blinking now. So it's going to go back and forth instead of looping back to the beginning. So you have kind of a ping pong effect. And I'm going to do this for the full 8 bars. I'm going to let it go for the full 8 bars and ping pong back and forth. Now, when it comes to starting off with the ambient soundscape, you could do it one of 2 ways. You could either layer it by bus 1 through 4. You could start with 1 and make your way down to 4. Or you can do it in reverse, but knowing that the order that you put those different effects in is going to affect the way that the audio sounds. So a lot of times, if we're starting with bus 1, I just like to do a simple delay. And of course, holding down remain and the effect will allow it to stay on the screen. Yeah, I think about 70. Anything above 70, I want for feedback. I'm gonna slow this down. And instead of doing it on the dot, like the 1/4, I like to do the dot or the T for it, just to give it a little bit more variation for the soundscape. And also when it comes to balance, a lot of times 50 is the highest I'll go on there. I want to do anything under 50 on the dry side. So this is how I like to initially start. I just like to start off with that delay. I think that starts off what could be considered an ambient soundscape. We're going to go into bus 2, and I think this is ha-do. I think that is the ha-do is what I have here. So this is one effect I really like, and I really like manipulating this parameter here. This one, these two, the low and high cut, it has a really interesting effect, as you may be able to hear. You can hear the differences between the high cut and the low cut. I think 100, 8,000 is good. Also this right here. This is a good one too. And already with just 2 effects, we've completely changed and completely morphed how this audio sounds. So we can go a little bit further, and in order to do that, I'm going to go into the effect settings and go into bus 3 and bus 4. Really, when it comes to bus 3 and bus 4, I think for 3, one that completely changes it, what I typically like to do is the resonator. So there's a hyper resonator. I don't like that one too much. I think it's a little too high. This is the one I typically like to go to, this resonator right here. And that typically takes a lot, it completely changes the dynamic, as you can hear. Especially when dealing with the root and the chord. parameters here. And then a lot of times, so I guess for the 4th bus, I think a good topping on this a lot is the, I think it's called cloud delay. It's like one of the last parameters on here, yes. So cloud delay. And as you can hear right now, it has completely changed the texture of it. Every new effect that you lay on it completely changes the texture. And every parameter that you actually manipulate also changes the texture. Even the window here. Just these small, subtle changes just changes the whole atmosphere that you're in. Specifically with cloud delay, that lo-fi effect on there, you could hear that, right? And that cloudiness on here. And after I'm done with just deciding which effects I want to put on my sound, you can go back to bus 1 and bus 2, and the manipulations you make on it will just affect everything else overall, right? So if I just change the time on this, hear those subtle changes. You know, sometimes it takes it a little while for it to catch on. Let's go to bus 2. Let's go to the high-do. Let's make some changes there. See how that just completely changed everything, right? It's just this weird atmospheric thing that's going on. I'll take it even a step further, that while you are manipulating the parameters on your effects, you could even go another step and go into the sample itself. So right now we are in an 8-bar loop, right? But what if I cut it down? What if I just cut it down to right here? And what if I cut it down to here? See how it changes that even. Even the very micro ping pong effect. Or maybe I just want to go straight into loop, right? Maybe I just want to go into a regular loop. Or maybe I just want to reverse the loop. Again, you just have all these different options when you're playing with sound, when you're manipulating the sound. And the sound parameters on here, and just dealing with it on just a very interesting level. I just find it fascinating. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video. I'd be curious to know what you think. Do any of you use the SP4 Mark II for any sort of ambient type of music production? Have you experimented with just any sort of sounds? And what sounds do you like to use if you do that? Again, I do thank you for the view. I thank you for the listen. And of course, until next time, peace.